This is Sybert signing into Red Alert 3 on the map Corporate Warfare for the Dual Duel number 7 finals. In the north, making up our first member of team number 1. As the Yellow Soviets, it's Dimon. To the right, his ally. As the purple allies, it's Happy. In the south, as the blue allies, it's Andrey. And our last player making up team number 2 as the red allies, it's PiKa. Now, of course, this is a tournament finals. It is a best of 5 series. The 2v2 and the team games are often best of 3s up to best of 5 finals, which is different from, of course, 1v1s, which almost always have best of 7 finals. Although, if it's a dual elimination, then one of the finals will be best of 3 and best of 5. Anyways, we've got ourselves some 2v2 action. I do have to make a quick note. The replays for this series are a little bit bugged. A couple of conscripts going to be dying on the bridge there. This one, in theory, should have been safe, but that's not quite how the hitboxes work for the bridges. At any rate, game number 2 for this series was not showing up, and I opened up the file, and it is missing the replay footer, and I know there's a way to fix that. I don't know how to do that. I tried to do it, and basically it would cause Red Alert 3 to crash when it opened the replay folder. So, yeah. I know that other people have fixed that. I don't know how to do it. And honestly, missing one game out of a best of 5 probably isn't a big deal. It was also the least downloaded of the replays in this series. And I don't know if that's because the replay got bugged. And but nobody seems to be talking about it. So I don't know that it was really greatly missed in any sense. Dimon and Happy, they are 2 of the best players in Red Alert 3 at the current time, and they are teamed up against Andrey and PiKa. Now, Andrey and PiKa, in their own right, can indeed take a game off of either Happy or Dimon, but if it's a series, I'm expecting Happy and Dimon to win, although Andrey may have actually beaten Happy in a series a little while ago. But generally speaking, in my mind, Happy and Dimon are the stronger team out of this. So we'll have to see exactly how this goes. Dimon going to be splitting off here to the left side of the map, taking the 2 refinery expansion, going to be getting himself up to 4 refineries and an oil derrick relatively quickly in this game. Of course, he has delayed his war factory by a huge amount to do this, which means he's just existing on his early game infantry. But the fact that PiKa took out this bridge early on kind of actually benefits him in this sense. Flak cannon is up, but of course it is low power mode. Dimon going to be adding a reactor back here at home, going to be expanding the build radius next to his original refineries by just a bit. And that's a solid move there by Dimon, a solid choice for the reaction there. It is going to be, I think, a naval yard being added on here. You can't quite click on it when it's just forming, but it is going to be a naval yard there next to the refinery, so it's going to be 4 refineries and just 1 production facility. I mean, he does still have the barracks, but not that big of a deal. Happy, on the other hand, has taken the high ground expansion, his MCV moving across the bridge, which in theory could be very dangerous, but to take a 4th and a 5th refinery, and of course Andrey has already killed this bridge. So as you can see, the bridge is kind of in mirror positions after the double refinery base here got cleaned up. So both players, or both teams rather, cleaning up those bridges to be able to more easily secure their double refinery high ground. Barracks does get cleaned up, which is great for our team in the south because that cuts off that build radius that Dimon had. He would have been able to establish his war factory a little bit further forward, but now he's either going to have to do it here off of the build radius of Happy or way back here next to his original buildings, which will make it a little bit easier to deal with. Flak cannon does get eliminated, but another one does get placed down in its spot. 2 airfields here for PiKa, so this is going to be his forward operating base, and of course he can take these 2 refineries, and we should be seeing that relatively soon. It's a big infantry army here from Andrey, and going to be getting a couple of free shots off on that Vindicator. Happy pushing forward. He's going to get the kill on the multi-gunner turret quite easily, but he doesn't have a lot of forces to actually push forward and do anything more than just kill that multi-gunner turret. So the attack will stop for the current moment. Tier 3 on the way before the War Factory for Dimon. It could very well be that he wants to get a little bit of base defense set up and then his Tier 3 before he moves his MCV back onto land, potentially taking this as his 5th refinery and then setting up his War Factory there. I love this as well. A single flak trooper going to be jumping inside of this building. Oh, won't actually be able to jump inside of the building, but I love that idea. If he would have actually gotten 5... Oh, this is funny. If he would have actually gotten, say, 5 flak troopers into this building, that would have been a massive anti-air force to hang out with these Apollos. But in this case, it's 8 Vindicators, 0 Apollos for PiKa. PiKa is, of course, going to be adding on, well, a boot camp, which immediately will get satellites dropped on it. Did not mean to tap that top secret protocols menu. That is the hotkey for showing health bars, though. That control plus that button, the tilde key. Cryo shot fires off. It is easily avoided. That is one thing to keep in mind over the course of this best of 5 as the games get to not even necessarily a stalemate position, but as we start seeing engagements happen. Dimon and Happy, well, they have 1 fewer cryo shots than our team in the south. So PiKa actually loses his... He actually loses his airfield there, so he's got a bunch of Vindicators, but not enough places for them to land. Dreadnought way out there on the water. It is going to be kept safe by these Bullfrogs, or kept safe at least from the Vindicators by the Bullfrogs. Vindicators do get cleaned up. 1 goes down. The other 3 do actually escape, and the Riptide's going to do what they can to make short work of those Bullfrogs. But with 2 Dreadnoughts here pounding away at this base, it is not long for this world, and PiKa is going to have to do something about this artillery, which he is facing Stingrays out here on the map, and Dimon is looking to take a strong position against PiKa over there on the left side of the map. A boot camp does get dropped down, as well as a War Factory by Dimon, so Happy is going to set up a little bit of a forward base there to help out Dimon in this case. 3rd refinery there, 4th and 5th refineries have been up for a little while for Happy. He's got a couple grand sitting out from them, and also going to be claiming these here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, claiming 2 more potential expansions, one of them getting blocked off by this dog by PiKa, but PiKa loses the dog, and Natasha is here on the map, going to be trying to clear away the multi-gunner turret, but Natasha gets eliminated so quickly there by that multi-gunner turret and the Peacekeepers inside of it. V4 Rocket is on the front lines, and it's deciding to walk right into the shotguns of these Peacekeepers, and unfortunately for Dimon, his forces do not help him in this fight. PiKa continuing to put on the pressure with the Riptides, doing what he can to push back the attack, and the Dreadnoughts, which actually are kind of struggling to deal with these Riptides because the Stingrays take a minute to actually kill the Riptides. So the combination of Vindicators and Stingrays, or excuse me, Riptides and Vindicators, are actually proving a little bit difficult for him to deal with. Dimon going to be losing all of his land expansions, both of his refineries back home, his super reactors, War Factory, everything getting eliminated. Cryoshot freezes off, fires off, freezes a couple of units. Andrey decides I'm just going to walk right into it for some reason, and Happy trying to split his forces around it, doesn't quite manage to escape with everything, but enough of a split of Peacekeepers to cut down the forces and the reinforcements of Andrey, so Happy will win that engagement and carve back a little bit of space for Dimon. Dimon, though, not doing tremendously well on land. He is going to be winning by sea, and pretty much sea alone, which is fine because he has a fully heroic Dreadnought there on the water. The Stingrays, again, kind of struggling to actually deal with these Riptides. Probably needs 1 or 2 more Stingrays to really make this a solid defense against these single Riptides, considering that PiKa is having a hard time actually mustering any forces to get out there other than a single Stingray at a time. Although I guess this Dolphin is now going to try and get in on the action. Crusher Crane here on the front line to try and provide those repairs. And then I also guess potentially provide some crushes if that is actually necessary. Bullfrog's getting targeted down, but there isn't necessarily a lot of air forces still waiting for PiKa to be able to do anything with. He has 4 Vindicators, which have just made a bombing run against an aircraft carrier here in the south. One of Happy's naval units that's trying to get something done, but it's not necessarily working particularly well at the moment. Andrey continues to push forward, now controlling more and more of the map, having pushed back and Happy from this high ground, killing off that refinery, but not necessarily being able to make much more headway than that. Andrey straight up manhandling Happy in this game, going to be able to shut down the seaport, shut down this expansion of Happy, and it looks like Happy is going to be losing his one of these is the Tier 2 command hub, but or the Tier 3 command hub. But he's going to be losing absolutely everything here. Andrey going to be pushing Happy back in the seas, and I mean, Dimon hasn't actually been able to do anything else to this base in a little while. His dreadnoughts, while they should be very effective, haven't actually been able to put any damage out onto PiKa, and PiKa, standing strong with the very limited defense that he has, is going to claim another flak cannon as it is constructing there. This is a double vet dreadnought. It looks like the heroic one ended up getting cleaned up, and Happy, having been pushed out of the water, it looks like Andrey has sold off one of his naval yards, but he has been forced to retreat onto just the land, and, well, one of his harvesters gets crushed by that assault destroyer, which takes a lot of damage from those Vindicators and is going to ultimately die, it looks like, to the multi-gunner turret. Nope, the low power mode. The multi-gunner turret or these Javelin troopers, as another bombing run comes in from Happy. He doesn't actually fire off the bombs, and that will do it for game number 1, as I think Andrey and PiKa take an early lead in this series, and then we'll have to see what happens in game number 3, since we do not have game number 2, and I don't know what happened there. But a somewhat surprising upset by Andrey and PiKa against Dimon and Happy. But Dimon's fast tech to Tier 3 just did not work out, and Andrey's solid play there in the middle of the map was the winner for that day. We will see what happens in game number 3, which is on Isla Nublar, and in the north, as the Purple Allies, it's Happy. South of him, as the Yellow Soviets, it's Dimon. Making up team number 2 on the right side, as the Red Allies, it's PiKa. And just south, as the Blue Allies, it's Andrey. Andrey, PiKa picking up a win in game number 1, and who knows what happened in game number 2. Actually, I guess you guys will, because after this I can look up the score, and then I'll actually know what happened in game number 2 despite not being able to see the replay. So I'll check the bracket, and then the score will reflect that. So whatever it says is, I guess, what happened. Dimon rushing out with a couple of bears. This is definitely one of those maps that we see less often. Pool Party, Hostile, Hostile are the much more commonly played maps. Even Corporate Warfare every once in a while gets played. But Isla Nublar, I don't remember. Maybe I've seen one game on this map. So it's always nice to mix things up a little bit. Ooh, has a couple of garages. Of course, this is designed more as a 4-player free-for-all map than as a team map, but that's okay. It's still possible to get some good games out of those 4-player style maps, or those 4-player FFA style maps. Double refinery before War Factory for Dimon, and it's going to be a relatively quick airfield for Happy. He did delay potentially his refinery for that. I wasn't quite paying attention to that. And, well, it looks like Andrey also hanging out with that airfield before the expansion. And PiKa doing the same thing, but I did just mix up their names. As I said, PiKa and Andrey, opposites. Peacekeepers get cleared out of that building, and the conscripts are going to try and take shelter in it away from the Riptide, while up in the north, PiKa steps forward, trying to posture outside of the base of Happy. And, well, Hospital is also here, and then a dry dock. So you've got garage, hospital, and dry dock. The only thing that you're missing is the airfield for the aircraft repairs, but that one is definitely the least common of the various repair buildings. And honestly, with how much infantry factors in for the Allied players, grabbing the hospital would definitely be worth it. But at the very least, it forces your opponent to deal with it. And if they don't deal with it, then you've got better infantry over the course of the game. Third refinery up and running for PiKa, and of course the oil derrick as well. Bombing runs against Happy's forces inside of these buildings also commencing. Dimon with a couple of bullfrogs and a couple of sickles there in the middle of the map, and this dog is going for the scout for PiKa, so PiKa will have a decent idea of what's going on inside of the base of Happy. Although at this point there isn't all that much that's strange, but he will know the position of all of the buildings and then, you know, potentially be planning some kind of attack. Peacekeepers clearing out that building. Andrey trying to clear out some of Happy's forces. And Andrey moving his MCV over here to the left side of the map, going to be completely ignoring all of these refineries, which he could try and grab. And, well, it looks like Dimon actually dropping some walls there near the middle of the map. Dimon going to be catching a Riptide with his Terror Drone and Sickles, which will be a nice catch there. Lots of damage on these Vindicators before they actually send their bombs, and the jump from the Sickles is good, but ultimately the Sickles weren't actually the target of those Vindicators, so they didn't really have anything to worry about. This one Vindicator going to be getting trapped on the ground, and actually, no, it does get let go there by the Terror Drone as the multi-gunner turret targets down the Terror Drone before dealing with the Sickles. The last Bullfrog gets eliminated, and Dimon's attack has been thwarted. Extra wall segments, I guess trying to block off this Engineer or something, but the Engineer from Andrey now going to be making a run for it, and can he actually cap the War Factory of Dimon? Dimon doing nothing about it, sells off the War Factory there, and will get the kill on the Engineer with the Conscript. Hopefully before that Engineer actually gets inside of that. Oh my gosh, he forces the sell-off rather than taking the chance on the cap. He forces the sell-off of that power plant, so that's super annoying there for Dimon, who is not having a good time in this 2v2 series, getting pushed around and bullied by Andrey as he has to drop even more wall segments to try and keep this refinery safe. Andrey starting to target down some of these walls, but they're just getting replaced by Dimon, who's reestablished a barracks as he's got his third refinery up and running. Of course, this oil derrick still ticking away. In the north, Happy and PiKa going to be facing off against each other with Peacekeeper forces. PiKa, the superior numbers on his side, is going to be potentially forcing Happy to respond with the multi-gunner turret, although Happy moved his MCV somewhere. I don't actually know where Happy's MCV ended up. Way over here on the opposite side of the map, as Happy is going to be potentially pushing in on PiKa's base. And yeah, this barracks right here going to be fueling Happy's attack of PiKa, forcing PiKa to pretty much relocate everything over here. Losing a refinery there, losing a refinery in the main as well. But this second refinery is still standing strong for the current moment. Happy feels like he's just destroying PiKa in this game, and actually going to now be attacking Andrey as well in the south, dropping a barracks while conscripts keep Andrey busy on the front line. A little bit of a split there of the conscripts around that cryo shot, and the bears also going to be not really taking part in this battle. Up in the north, PiKa rather, going to be going for a kill on the oil derrick of Happy. PiKa reestablishing this refinery here in the north, and it looks like this refinery here in the main base of PiKa is not long for this world. Happy starting to put some serious damage onto Andrey with those laser-locked Javelin Troopers, going to be asking Andrey how he likes it when his refineries get laser-locked down by Javelin Troopers. Airfield is going to be potentially eliminated. Any bombs? Yes, there are bombs inside of those Vindicators, and they do manage to clean up that Javelin Trooper before he gets the kill. Dolphin going for the harass on the left side of the map, but it looks like barely holding on is Happy. PiKa rushing in to try and get the kill. It looks like he cleaned up a power plant, but the refineries is still here for Happy. And Happy's Prospector not actually able to get any kills. He did lose the refinery here on a little bit south of his main base. And now finally this airfield may actually be going down. PiKa may have no real production facilities left if he loses that airfield to these Peacekeepers. And no bombs, it looks like, inside of that Vindicator. No, he does have bombs. He drops all of them on a single Peacekeeper, but he does lose the airfield for it. Unfortunate there. The main base of Andrey is being laid waste as Happy just manages to clear out almost everything from Andrey. PiKa reestablishing this airfield in the north is going to be potentially losing his power plant. He should be able to save this if he actually gets his Peacekeepers over there to kill off the Peacekeepers of Happy. He will be able to clean up a fully heroic Peacekeeper, which is nice for PiKa to be able to do. And this, wow, Dimon is just not able to have anything go his way. A whole ton of Peacekeepers showing up for Happy, or showing up for Dimon from Happy. He's going to be helping Dimon stand strong against the forces of Andrey. Andrey, unable to clean up the forces in his main base, is just going to have to concede everything to Happy. And Happy, who took a little bit of pressure earlier on, may actually need to unpack his MCV and get an engineer out here onto the map. PiKa going to be losing this Vindicator if he hangs out too much longer to the fully heroic firepower of that Javelin Trooper inside of the building. 2 Vindicators going to be going down from our team that was originally on the right side, although at this point Happy is just about everywhere on the map. There goes the barracks as the War Factory gets placed down by PiKa. And PiKa with this, like, 2 refinery economy with the oil derrick, just trying to put something together, having a hard time doing anything consistently. Actually, everyone in this game is having a hard time doing anything consistently except for Happy. Happy has been pretty consistent with his income, keeping everything alive, keeping everything operational, and now he's going to be going back up to that 3 refinery economy that he had a while ago. And unfortunately for, well, never mind, I was going to say unfortunately for Happy, but PiKa actually is forced to turn around as this multi-gunner turret and the Javelin Trooper in tandem with that cryo shot force back those Peacekeepers from PiKa. This game is just a little bit wild with stuff happening all over the place. Happy guns down one of the oil derricks of PiKa, and I guess a couple of the oil derricks are there inland, and then a couple of the oil derricks are on the edges. So I guess it is still just 1 oil derrick per player. But, you know what would be really nice at this point is if any player would capture a hospital, considering how many groups of infantry are running around the map. The Javelin Trooper does not get the kill on that ore refinery. It barely survives. Happy did indeed send an engineer into his con yard. He did indeed get it back up to full health. At some point, Andrey left the game. I did indeed miss that, but I guess you guys probably noticed it a little more than I did. And it's a 2v1 with Andrey, or with PiKa against Happy and Dimon. And this is going to be definitely a tough situation for PiKa to try and overcome. Whatever was inside of those buildings does indeed get cleaned up. And PiKa making a bombing run against the forces of Dimon here at this refinery, but Dimon has now reestablished his 3rd refinery for, I think, the 3rd time in this game. Again, it's been a tough game to try and have any kind of consistent income for everyone except Happy. And now Happy's attack attempt using these Javelin Troopers and these Peacekeepers is going to get shut down by the forces of PiKa. PiKa moving back into his ancestral home, his original main base, as he gets his own 3rd refinery up and running, looking to establish a 4th refinery at his original main base location. At the same time, pressuring Happy, killing off that power plant is always a nice thing to do. Cryo shot catching a couple of units there, but not the end of the world. And if Dimon could get a 3rd refinery up and a war factory, he would be golden. He would be in a fantastic position. The combined infantry forces of Dimon and Happy, just an overwhelming firepower force for PiKa to deal with, who at the current moment is just simply being overwhelmed. Low power mode on that multi-gunner turret, adding insult to injury as a cryoblast fires off, helping to freeze down and destroy that ore refinery. MCV on the move, going to try and do what he can, but the laser lock of the Javelin Troopers is indeed good. It drives just out of range of both of them and then going to be unpacked. So I don't know if this is a good idea from PiKa, but he's trying desperately to break and then drive out of range of those laser locks, while his Riptides try and chew through the forces of Happy. He's doing a pretty good job of dealing with the forces and going for the Javelin Troopers, and then the conscripts is about as good of a handling of the situation as you could ask. More reinforcements going to be coming in from PiKa, who's going to be able to clear everything, but does not have a chance of winning the game, so he determines. So in that moment, PiKa definitely could have cleared out those forces with the combination of Riptides and Peacekeepers, but yeah, from that point on, he basically had no chance of winning the remainder of the game. And that will do it for game number 3. We continue into game number 4, which takes us to Pool Party, the Infinity Isle of 2v2 maps. In the top left-hand corner, making up our team number 1 as the blue allies, it's Andrey. And in the south, as the red allies, it's PiKa. On the right-hand side, making up team number 2 as the yellow Soviets, it's Dimon. And with the weight of the world on his shoulders, the orange allies, it's Happy. Swapping out his color from purple to orange, but it is the, yellow and orange team versus red and blue. Would be better if PiKa was purple or cyan or something. That'd be yellow and orange versus blue and cyan, blue and purple, something like that. We could theme it a little bit better. Although, of course, some people like it better when Allies is blue and Soviets are red and that sort of thing. However, we shall see how this game develops, even if the colors aren't perfectly to everyone's likings. So far, it's looking fairly standard openers from everyone. Oh, it's actually going to be straight into a super reactor for Dimon. So he's got the barracks, he's got the 2 refineries, and then just into that super reactor. So this did not work out for him super well in game number 1, that fast tech up, and the little bit riskier play going for limited actual production facilities. But in this case, he's probably going to drop the war factory soon. Even if he moves his MCV first, he's probably going to be going for the war factory soon, which the super reactor will benefit him in that case, rather than going, double water expansion and naval yard. Peacekeepers pull back from the front line, and once again, as we typically see, everyone just sort of shooting each other with their I-beams and staring each other down without actually moving in to do anything. Bear is going to be getting cleaned up by Andrey, so he fancies his chances against the infantry of Dimon better if there are fewer bears, and I can't blame him for that. Happy, an absolute powerhouse in that last game, is now going to have to potentially repeat that performance against PiKa down here in the south. More bears being cleaned up. I love the idea of aircraft bombs, 3 of them being required to kill a single bear, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's okay. It's a video game, and I just think it's funny. Airfield and a couple of Vindicators for Happy. Well, that's why you gotta use the Vindicator bombs on the bears, because otherwise all of your Peacekeepers die. This is kind of sad for Happy. He's got a conscript shooting down his aircraft. Dimon going to be dropping a 3rd refinery before the war factory, and the bears going to be pulling back. Andrey going to be potentially facing the shotguns of Happy as Happy crosses the map with his Peacekeeper forces. Meanwhile, back in Happy's main base, it's PiKa who's putting on the pressure and claiming this building next to the airfield of Happy. Vindicators coming in for some serious bombing runs versus all of these Peacekeepers. And these Riptides will be able to clean up these Peacekeepers one by one, but good micro there from Happy, and bad focus firing there from Andrey, as he's actually fixing his focus firing just as I'm saying that. Not fast enough to save the airfield of Happy, or of Andrey. So unfortunately for Andrey, he's going to have to rebuild that airfield, which honestly isn't the biggest deal, but losing it is very annoying and setting him back a little bit there. It looks like Happy just barely survives with his own airfield, nearly losing that to the forces of PiKa. But PiKa has been beaten back. PiKa going to be retreating to his airfield forces. And for now, Dimon, with that 3rd refinery, also moving his MCV forward to potentially start Tesla pushing his opponent. Bears going to be heading into the base of PiKa as they are gathering together in quite good numbers there in the water, but not necessarily doing a whole lot for Dimon. I wonder exactly what this is going to turn into, because that is a red multi-gunner turret that just isn't attacking anything at the current moment. PiKa now decides to attack the MCV, and Dimon says, nope, not even gonna try, as this Riptide drives past those bears and is unable to actually shut them down. Ore Refinery going to be going down as Andrey's Riptides make short work of that expansion. Unfortunately for Happy, he won't be able to have that income to rely on. And Andrey going to be pulling back with all of his Vindicators after another successful bombing run, I assume, against the MCV of Dimon, who's pulled back from the front line and is looking to do something. 4 MiGs from Dimon, searching the map, desperately trying to find air forces of their opponent. But I think there are only a couple of actual Apollos somewhere on the map down here in the south for PiKa. More bombing runs from Andrey, cleans up at Tesla Coil, and I guess this single Twin Blade is just going to go completely unopposed, which is great for Dimon. He's also going to be unloading 3 Flak Troopers to get the kill on the refinery, but instantly, that 2 of those Flak Troopers actually go down to the run over of that, to the crush of that ore harvester. And this Riptide going to be going for the kill of that Harvester. At the same time, PiKa going to be harassing this expansion of Dimon's and going for the kill there. But at the same time, PiKa trying to harass Happy, but getting pushed back by a multi-gunner turret. The Harvester does go down. It doesn't get restarted right away by Dimon, and Happy is able to clean up that Riptide, at least for the current moment. Giving up on building again and again the Tesla coils, which just get bombed away by the forces of Andrey. For a moment there, Dimon decides to build a naval yard, and he thinks better of it. The attempt of a turret push by Dimon has been answered now, finally, with an actual turret push by PiKa and Andrey as they encroach on his MCV with their own multi-gunner turrets, but the multi-gunner turret's not really doing a whole lot there for Andrey and PiKa. So I don't know how successful of a multi-gunner turret push that really is. Great Desolator airstrike here by Dimon, going to be forcing Andrey to cancel all of the production out of that barracks. And, well, there are just 4 MiGs hanging out in the airspace over Happy's base, trying to help him defend the airspace and push back PiKa's forces. It's going to be Apollos versus an Apollo and MiGs, which these IFVs will certainly turn the tide of that battle if it had been still going on. But once again, Andrey pushing forward. Great use of these Riptides. Going to be shutting down another expansion of Dimon. Dimon, again, in all of these games, having such a hard time actually keeping things up and running. He's had 4 refineries in this game, but only really ever harvesting from 2 of them. And he's basically, you know, got 50% waste in terms of his actual income. Flak Trooper's going to be getting some good shots off on these Vindicators. 1 Vindicator goes down. The other 3 do manage to escape, but 2 Hammer Tanks get eliminated. The rest of the Hammer Tanks are just leeching down these multi-gunner turrets and kind of abusing the range there of those Hammer Tanks. I think an engineer or something ended up going down there for probably Happy as he was trying to be sneaky with an engineer. MiGs and Twin Blades going to be keeping patrol over Happy's base and trying to buy Happy as much time as he can. 2 Hammer Tanks do get caught by that cryo shot, and Andrey going to be able to capitalize on that, killing a Flak Trooper, killing 2 Hammer Tanks with that cryo shot. And once again, the refinery of Happy gets cleaned up, this time by the forces of Andrey as he heads back with 3 of his Vindicators still alive from that attack. A dog gets cleaned up as for the 9th time or the 100th time in this series, Dimon is going to try and take a 4th refinery. He's deciding to take the safe one back here on the water. PiKa now going to be pressuring the water expansion of Happy, and you have to hand it to PiKa and Andrey. They have been keeping the pressure up this entire game, and I think if this was, 1v1s, things might be a little bit different, but PiKa and Andrey being a very powerful team force in this 2v2 situation. I love that Happy just has that one random building so deep on his enemy's territory. The Apollos finally do clean up the Apollo of, I think, PiKa as it breaks it into pieces there. And, well, it looks like PiKa going to try and make some headway, but this is just too many forces. Well, maybe not with the cryo shot, as PiKa's forces were originally just walking into the shotguns of Happy's forces, but now things are looking a little bit more even as the cryo shot forcing the split of the units for Happy. And Well, actually now Happy pretty much just has the Vindicators trying to make bombing runs against PiKa's forces. Desolator Airstrike, I'm guessing, going to be coming in. It completely misses all of the infantry. It does force them a little bit closer to Happy's forces. Andrey continuing to push forward. The artillery advantage is now on his side as Athena cannons are out here on the map. Having never rebuilt this refinery, it looks like Andrey has just been operating on these more forward refineries, not actually rebuilding back at home. Instead, just continuing to get closer, ever closer to the base of Dimon. And this is looking difficult and desperate for our team on the right side. More bombing runs from PiKa and Andrey, going to be potentially shutting down this expansion once again. Goodbye, refinery, for the 100th time. A refinery dies at the Vindicator bombs of PiKa and Andrey. Athena Cannon stepping a little bit too far forward, but really they're just stepping forward so they can use their shield to block and absorb the damage so the Mirage tanks can close in. This is still a lot of forces and a lot of firepower, more importantly, for Dimon. He has got a serious amount of damage output that he can unleash onto these allied forces, and with this many flak troopers, there isn't going to be an easy way to clean this up with just air forces. The multi-gunner turrets will take a moment to leech down. Andrey coming in with a big group of Vindicators. All of them do escape because the flak troopers were actually a little bit too far behind, but only two of the tanks go down. The hammer tanks still continuing to push on forward, and the cashback is a nice bonus there for Dimon. PiKa and Andrey moving forward in the south as the Peacekeepers of PiKa shred the bases of the base of Happy. And the Mirage tanks now up close and personal with these hammer tanks. The cryo shot forcing the engagement there, and that will do it, I think, for game number 4 as Dimon and Happy get knocked out of that one. But that means we are going to the ace match. And I guess at this point we can conclude what actually happened there in game number 2, which I guess you guys already knew, but Dimon and Happy must have won that game, but unfortunately the replay was bugged in that case. And that will do it for our game number 4, which means the score is 2-2 heading into the ace match. Which takes us to Hostile Hostel with the lovely little statue of a woman in the middle of a fountain there in the middle. On the left side in the north, making up team number 1 as the Cyan Allies, it's Happy. And in the south, his teammate as the Yellow Soviets, it's Dimon. On the right side, making up team number 2, putting up a heck of a fight in multiple of these games as the Red Allies, it's PiKa. And making up team number 2, as the Blue Empire, this is Andrey. Andrey going to be playing that blue color, but playing Empire. That is curious. Now, we do have 2 allies, 1 on each team, but then a Soviet and an Empire player. So, a more even distribution of the factions here in this final game. The ace match of this best of 5. Hostile Hostel, definitely the counterpart to Pool Party in the 2 maps that people actually play pretty consistently in 2v2s. And Peacekeepers and Imperial Warriors going to be fighting for control of the middle of the map, which I guess that does, in the end, favor Andrey just a bit, as Imperial Warriors are, of course, cheaper than Peacekeepers. Straight into the airfield after the double refinery for Happy. Dimon, on the other hand, going to be going War Factory before the Super Reactor. The most even-keeled game or start from Dimon that we have seen. He's not going for anything too rash or risky in this final match. PiKa, Andrey, everyone looking pretty solid, pretty stable in this first couple of minutes of this final game. Tengu going to be heading out across the map for Andrey. Going to be potentially putting on some Harvester harassment against Happy over there in the top left-hand corner of the map. A War Factory to kind of body block for these Peacekeepers to stop them from getting any real damage done, and it looks like the War Factory did get canceled. But these Peacekeepers, they could be a bit of a threat if there was not the forces and the help of Dimon here to just help out. The Sickle, the Bullfrog, the body blocking there, all good things from Dimon helping out his teammate as PiKa was putting some pressure on Happy. Even the conscripts now going to be joining in with the forces. Another Tengu heading across the map. It looks like Tengu harass has been pretty common for Andrey in these first couple of minutes. He's got a number of Tengus split all over the place, trying to cut down the forces of his opponent and harass the economy of Dimon. And I think Happy a little bit. He might have been going for a bit of harassment, as we can see an explosion marker there. Peacekeepers for Happy now going to be moving in, and, well, they're going to get the kill on one of the Peacekeepers of Andrey, and by that I mean PiKa, here in the north. Happy also almost gets the kill on that Apollo. It's going to be 2v1, but one of them has repairs, and potentially even more ammo if they're firing at something else. Now moving on from his third refinery location, Happy is going to be potentially turret pushing PiKa from this forward position. And almost got his harvester bugged there. A little bit unfortunate, but it does get back to work, which is good. Another Tengu gets cleaned up. Andrey has lost a lot of Tengus, and no Tier 2 just yet for Andrey at this point. Just now going to be setting up that third refinery. It will be online relatively soon, but it is a little bit late and a little bit slow in comparison to Dimon and Happy. And Dimon and Happy, when they just play straight up standard, it seems like they have a much better start to the game than when they try and do something a little bit more rash and risky. One more Vindicator goes down just as it's trying to land. Happy unable to keep that guy alive, which is a little bit unfortunate. Well, Javelin Trooper and a Peacekeeper both make it out, and with this low power mode, it means that multi-gunner turret for PiKa can't actually help him defend against these forces. Unpacks his MCV and bringing that multi-gunner turret back online, but not before the Javelin Trooper cleans up the power plant. Well played there by Happy, able to shut down that infrastructure of PiKa. Terror Drone's now going to be going for the capture or the kill of this Harvester, and unfortunately for Dimon, well, he doesn't get an easy and free kill, but his micro is good enough to stop both of these Tengus from actually being able to kill the Terror Drone, and now the Twin Blade is going to be able to clean up both Tengus, and this is about as poorly as that could have gone for Andrey, but it's all because of the superior control and decision-making of Dimon. Poor Andrey making a little bit of a mistake there. Or not even necessarily a mistake. He tried to do the right thing. He tried to do what he should have, but it just didn't quite work out because the micro of Dimon, and now the Harvester gets killed as well. This is just not going well for Andrey here in game number 5. He did eventually tech up his Mecha Bay, but it might be too little too late as he has Twin Blades and Hammer Tanks putting constant pressure on him, so much so that he has to pull his MCV out and use it as a battering ram on the front line. Unfortunately, the Tsunami Tank will not survive. The healing powers are not enough. PiKa has been defeated. Andrey has been defeated. And right there, the Dual Duel number 7 finals have been decided. Happy and Dimon are the champions. PiKa and Andrey putting up a good fight, but it was not enough. And especially in that final game, Dimon and Happy were just in absolute control pretty much from start to finish. Andrey's harassment never quite worked out the way he would have liked. It just was not very effective versus Dimon, and that critical Dimon control and decision-making was so solid throughout this game, unlike some of the other games that we saw in this 2v2. But a great series overall, and a close one. A number of these games definitely back and forth. So a thank you to Rage of Heat for putting this event together, making it all happen. And, of course, a big congratulations to Dimon and Happy for taking first place, and a good showing from PiKa and Andrey. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and this is Sybert, signing out.